easier this time around, knowing you have a few guys that played quite a bit last year, or is it matching some of the new pieces as well to it?
Yeah, a little bit of both in terms of the familiarity with guys that have been around for a while, but we've also added some some newer parts that in the age of the transfer portal that guys that have got a lot of experience. We added 3 guys who were multi-year starters at their previous institutions, so really well-coached guys that we're excited that they're with us. So just seeing how they fit into the into the big picture, and then how the guys that have been in the program for a while have continued to develop through spring practice and over the summer with Coach Kinsey and his staff, and so got a lot to sort out, but every year it seems like it's that way, so it's kind of always part of the process.
Gus had mentioned during his press availability that Caden Kittler at the center spot, it's kind of his job to lose. What have you noticed as far as his improvement at that position making, and where does he need to go as far as making the calls and things like that?
Well, I feel like he's got a really good grasp on our offensive system. I mean, he knows the system. He knows the communication progression. He's very well versed in all of that. He's got a great football IQ. So the biggest things for him, this is year 3 for him. So he's got he's built up a lot of banked reps, with experience. Okay. He's got to play stronger at times. And that's probably the biggest thing that I want to just see him improve upon. Is just playing a little more firm at times. There's times where he plays really firm, but there's other times, where he's just got to continue to develop in that area.
On Monday, we saw Jabari Brooks playing a bit at right guard as well. I know
he was playing at left.
He's a left guard.
Yeah.
I know he played some center at Sanford as well. Is guard kind of more where he's?
Well, we're just focusing on that right now. The thing about the center position, and obviously I learned a lot last year. Never had to play 4 centers, in one season. But every year's a new year, it brings on its own challenges and whatnot. But you have to have guys prepared to play at that position. So more so than any other year. Last year was an example of that. So, we've got kids taking reps at center. Cam Kinney, Walt Claire. I've got Marcellus has been snapping. Jabari is still snapping. They're focusing more on the guard position right now, but you have to have contingency plans in place. And then, we brought Keegan Smith in, back in May, and Keegan has played center in his career as well. So we have a number of guys that could play that position. Or have played that position, and but you just have to have a plan in place for hypotheticals.
You talked about all the centers you had to play last year. I know Caden played a couple of the Big 12 games. Was he banged up? Was he?
So yeah,
what kind of got into?
Well, the Baylor game he got rolled up and had a ankle foot deal.
So that kind of impacted him the rest of the way.
Yeah, and had that not happened, he was playing pretty well, but that's the nature of it, you know what I mean? That's why you have to have plans in place for those type of scenarios and situations. So, but he had a foot deal that kept him out for a month or so. And he tried to fight through it, and you know, and then, you know, so we went with Bula at that moment, and then Bula hurt his foot, and then we went with Drake again, and then, you know, we put Bula back in, and then that's when we went with Lokai. You know what I mean? So it was an adventure.
Is Paul Rubelt, has he established himself to really compete for a starting job there on that right side? Or
100% compete. He's yeah. Paul, I'm very, very proud of Paul, and I'm very excited for Paul because Paul is immensely talented. Okay, he's got he's got a very high give a crap factor. Okay, this is very important to him, and he wants to do well, and he's always had that, and that's what's allowed now where his actual, you know, football playing ability is starting to catch up with his talent, right? Because he's always been very talented. What I mean by that, he's just gifted. You know, he's 6'11". He's very athletic at 6'11". You know, he's improved his flexibility, and he's got great bend, and you know, like when he gets in his stance, you would never know he's 6'11". You know, that's one of the things I show people when I'm watching film with, you know, some of my friends or other old Lycos. I'm like, how about this dude right here, 6'11"? No way he's 6'11". Then he unfolds and you're like, holy cow, he's massive, you know, but he's really strong. He works his tail off in the weight room. He's got all the intangibles you want. He's a great person. He's coachable. It took us a little time, you know, when I first got here, and it was, you know, there was I didn't want anything to get lost in translation. You know, there was times where he'd be like, what do you mean by that? Like something I might take for granted that, you know.
Like a figure of speech or something?
A figure of speech, or even a word. You know, he explained that to me. And now he gets it, and you know, so, and I think that having, Paul and I have a really good relationship, and I think that having that type of strength of relationship has helped in his development as well. So I'm really excited for him. I know his teammates are really excited for him, and his teammates trust him, you know, and he's earned that through the way he works in the weight room and on the practice field and in the film room, you know, everything that he's put into it. So I'm really excited to see how everything unfolds for him.
What worked most for Adrian Bedley? Because he entered the starting lineup kind of in November last year, and the results got better for you guys as a team. So what did he contribute to the success of the unit?
Yeah, so Adrian actually started the Villanova game last year.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he got hurt. He got rolled up. When I say rolled up, what happens is a lot of times, you know, as an offensive lineman, that's why the guys wear knee braces. Okay. And they have to have their ankles taped or braced in every practice, and because everything's happening behind you, okay? And so a running back gets tackled from the back, and you're engaged in a block, and all of a sudden that pile rolls up on you, and the first thing that happens is your legs get clipped out from under you, and that's how knee injuries and ankle injuries and things of that nature occur. And so that happened to Adrian in the Villanova game, which was unfortunate because he had just gotten back into starting position, okay? And then he got hurt again. And he was coming off of, you know, the knee injury from the year before. And incredibly athletic dude, you know, great spirit about him. He's just he's fun to be around. I enjoyed coaching him, all those things. But, you know, he was overcoming having sat out for a season with the injury. And then he, you know, gets back in the starting lineup, then he gets hurt again. And then it was, you know, I don't know if it was a high ankle sprain or whatever it was. But it was a, you know, month, 5 weeks. before he was back to 100%. And I think he might have started again. First game starting might have been Cincinnati, maybe, or somewhere around there in that range. And and he finished up the season really strong and had a really good spring. And he's a guy that's a veteran guy. He's been around. And he's put in the work to put himself in a position to have success this year. And so I'm excited for him as well.
Most of his starts, I think, came in left guard last year. Does he move over to the right side? Does he play?
He primarily plays left. Okay. But, for him, it's always a little bit of a transition when you have to, flip sides from left to right.
So it feels like the right side could be pretty fluid, especially with Marcellus' role. If Paul's starting at right tackle, there's a chance he kicks inside and plays guard. Well,
Marcellus has been primarily repping at right guard right now. But, he started games for us last year at right tackle and at left guard. And Adrian has been primarily a left guard, but I wouldn't have any reservations. I'm sure at some point along the way he's taken reps at right guard over the course of the last few years because we try to cross-train, as many guys as we can. Which is it's critical as you progress through training camp to have guys ready for contingencies and hypotheticals, but because you always have to have that in your mind, you want them to have as much continuity, as you can at positions, but in the real life world of offensive line play, that's not realistic. And if you had 10 guys who were, 5 guys that really established themselves as the 5 starters, and then there's 5 guys that positionally they're all equal, and they're the number 2 guys, okay? That's not real, right? Because if your backup right guard, let's just say, for instance, let's say your backup right guard is your 10th best offensive lineman, and the starting right guard gets hurt, okay? It doesn't make sense to put the 10th best guy in there.
So the 6th best guy?
You got to go with the 6th best guy. You see what I'm saying? Regardless of the positions. And that's always the challenge of this position, is having your 5 best guys on the field at all times. And that changes. I mean, we got into the Villanova game last year, and we had some issues at center, so I made a change at center. Then Adrian got rolled up and had to take Marcellus, who was starting at right tackle for the Villanova game, bump him over to left guard and insert Amari Kite. And then Amari winds up being the starter the rest of the season at right tackle, and Marcellus becomes the move guy. You know what I mean? And then we wind up playing 4 centers. Why? Because we're always trying to have the 5 best guys on the field. That's always the challenge.
And trying to identify your 5 best guys.
Good seeing you.
It seems like there was a few guys who, Marcellus and Amari, that you feel like they're going to be there, But what are your biggest questions now, from now until the beginning of camp, different positions or whatever? What do you want to see to kind of finalize who your top 5 are going to be? Are there some big questions you want to see answered?
I wouldn't necessarily say that there's big questions that need to be answered.
Do you feel like in your mind you have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like?
I have a good idea about our top probably 8, how that's going to unfold. 9 maybe. Now I'm thinking, I probably got a good idea about who our top 10 are, for sure. And going into tomorrow's practice, I know how we're going to rotate, but, that could change in a heartbeat. and practice tomorrow. All of a sudden it's bang, 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 and you got to have plans, to move guys if you need to. And the guys have to be prepared to do that. I even go back to when I was at Auburn, and we had a guy named Austin Golson. And I think Austin, in 2017, I want to say Austin started a game at every position except right guard. Okay, and we got it to the Ole Miss game, and our left guard had gotten rolled up, and Austin was either in at center or right tackle. I can't remember which one. It might have been center. Maybe it was right tackle. Either way, but we're in the middle of a timeout. And I said, hey, you're going to left guard. And he kind of was like, Coach, I haven't taken reps at left guard since, last spring or whatever. I go, well, giddy up, you know what I'm saying? That's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And so, we had to shift guys to get the best 5 on the field. And so those guys, I would think I would kind of categorize Marcellus in a very similar
He's a guy
position.
that can do that.
He can do whatever.
In the middle of a timeout to say you're playing there, no problem.
No problem. I got it. And we wouldn't miss a beat, from an execution standpoint. So that's what's critical, is that you have enough of those type of guys that you can, move, and they're adaptable to do that. So. And that's always the challenge, is preparing guys to be able to do that. So,
how are some of these transfers? Wes Dorsey in the spring at tackle, Keegan Smith over the summer. You added him after spring. How are these guys kind of fitting into what you want to do?
Yeah, they're doing great. And again, you're talking Wes Dorsey, who's a multi-year starter at a very good Western Kentucky program. Very well coached. He's got a lot of experience. Keegan, multi-year starter at Central Michigan. Jabari, multi-year starter at Samford at a variety of positions. And, all of those guys have got banked reps, have played in big games and played against good people. And, so when you bring those guys into the mix, the biggest thing there is just the chemistry portion of it, and those guys have been awesome additions to the room from a big picture standpoint, not just, how they are as players, but who they are as people. They're really, really good people. So.
What do you think about this second year in the Big 12? I know you've been to a lot of these places before, but it's almost like a brand new league. There's
right.
Colorado, there's the Arizona schools, Utah. Yeah. I know you can worry about it when the game weeks get here, but just kind of what are your overall thoughts on the second year Big 12 schedule?
Yeah, the only 2 teams that we played last year are West Virginia and Cincinnati. Yeah. So that's got challenges in it itself. But
you've been to TCU and other
places.
I have. Yeah.
We played there, when I was at Texas, and haven't been to Arizona State. I actually have a list because I've been doing this for so long, and
you've been in a lot of different leagues, so you've
been in a bunch of different conferences. Yeah. I actually have my daughter. Our daughter a couple years ago got me a Christmas gift, which is a map of the United States, and it has every Division I football playing university on the map already, and then I could put pins in all of the different stadiums I've coached in, which is kind of cool, when you look back on it. I think I'm up to like 79 different stadiums or something like that, so because I've been in so many leagues.
The Conference USA, Big 12, SEC,
Big East, ACC, Big Ten.
So the PAC school, the former PAC, so maybe that's
that's the only place I haven't been really west. Yeah. The furthest west I've ever coached was last year in Boise.
Yeah.
That'll change as we progress down the road. But this year Arizona State will be the first or my first trip there. So, but most of the other places I've been to. So.
Yeah. I got to ask you real quick about this video game. All the players were talking about it. The NCAA football, EA Sports game.
Yeah.
Is that something that, you know, you're not into that, are you? Or
No.
Gus
Too many buttons. I like Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah. You a big
Miss
guitar guy?
Pac-Man.
Or, I was trying to ask Gus, was you a big arcade guy? What were you?
I was.
grow up playing?
I grew up playing Miss Pac-Man and the track and field game with the buttons that you had to press, and you know, Galaga, and I loved, you know, when we were in college, it was Tecmo Bowl.
Okay.
I was, you know,
That was a
I'm
good
pretty
one.
good Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
Now, Tecmo Bowl was all about your matchups, right? If you had Bo Jackson at running back,
Yeah.
nobody could tackle him except for Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
You know, so you had to have the matchups right. But no, the games nowadays, they got too many buttons. I can't.
It's what's the sort? It's muscle memory. It's delay. Yeah.
If I play any of that stuff with my kids, I'm a button masher. Like if we play Street Fighter, you know, the Street Fighter game, I just mash buttons.
Maybe something good will happen.
Exactly.
Well, I appreciate it,
All right.
Coach. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I'll see you around.
Good seeing you.
Thank